Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today we're going to be discussing the very controversial, very, I guess, dramatic Spyderco Slysz Bowie, the Knifejoy exclusive, the new 2021 variant in M390 and blue anno. This knife caused quite the stir in the knife world, right? I did a Knife Guy episode about this. I gave my thoughts about the drama. I'm going to do a little bit of, just kind of an overview and tell you guys what I think about the knife itself now that I've got it in hand and can actually look at it, which is exactly what I said I was going to do. First off, I'd like to say thank you to Seth for letting me take a look. He got this and immediately sent it to me. So thank you very much. No, I don't get to keep it. It's going back. I wish that I could link this for you guys where you could pick it up right now, but it is not available. However, Knifejoy, the retailer that is doing the exclusive on this, I don't know if all future variants of the Slysz Bowie will always be at Knifejoy. I have no idea, but I do know that they've said that they will do another run. Will it still be blue? Will it still be satin finished? Will it still be M390? I have no idea, but if you want to get your hands on one of these and you don't want to go to eBay and pay the really dumb prices that are there, your best bet is to go to Knifejoy and, just be ready for it. Follow them on Instagram if they have an Instagram. I think that they do. And sign up for email notifications on their website if that is an available thing. Thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for my Patreon right down in the description. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Real quick specs here, just for people who are not familiar with this knife, and then I promise we will talk about it. Overall length, Slysz Bowie coming in at surprisingly 7 3/4 inches. I always thought it was 8 on the dot. Blade length is coming in at about 3.3. Cutting edge is coming in at about 3 1/8. That's interesting. Just two real quick size comparisons because I don't want to hang everything up on specs and stuff like that. Up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Spyderco Para 3. I think those are some good size comparisons. Maybe because it's a Spyderco, we should also do the Spyderco PM2 so that PM2 owners can get a good look. It's kind of right in between. For whatever reason, in pictures, this knife looks a lot taller and a lot bigger than it actually is. It's just about the perfect size, honestly, for me. If you don't know my history with this, I have reviewed the original. The original was tumbled titanium and CTS XHP. And then the blade was also tumbled and had that really nice finish on it that is unfortunately not present on this guy. Not that the finish on this guy is bad, it's just not as good as the original. I have reviewed it. I was so confused by the Slysz Bowie for the longest time because I knew that there was this huge, like, oh my gosh, it's so great, it's excellent, it's Spyderco's best knife, and I was like, what? What? No, it is. There's no way. It's just titanium and XHP, right? Reducing it to just the materials. We don't reduce the knife to just the materials. That's just, you're setting yourself up for a very boring path in the knife world. And this was a great example of that because I got it in hand and I was like, oh my gosh, this is why people are going freaking nuts for this thing. Contoured titanium, wonderful blade geometry, wonderful blade shape, great ergonomics. To my surprise, I really thought I was like, what? So I'm just holding on to a rectangle, right? No, it's really nice. And plus, this is the only Spyderco you can technically reverse flick it if you can get your finger in there. You can do it. Just take my word for it. You can do it. The only Spyderco, because Spyderco knives, you always want to reverse flick them, right? You always want to do this, right? It's not easy unless you're left-handed. If you're left-handed with this being a right-handed frame lock, then no problem because the cutouts on this side. Only Spyderco where that doesn't bother me because the thumb flick is so satisfying in that. Can you hear that? Man, feels good. Running on phosphor bronze washers, which makes it a knife that's a little more resilient than knives that are running on bearings, and the action is still nice and glassy smooth, right? Blade profile, like I said, excellent cutting geometry, nice and thin behind the edge. A lot of reasons to like this. Minimal hardware, it's got the wire clip, right? I mean, that's why people are just like, oh my gosh, it's the best Spyderco ever. Now, the original price for the old XHP one was, what was it? $335 to $350, something like that. Sat around at retailers for a while. It's not like they were immediately sold out. This thing became wildly popular after they were sold out, if I remember correctly. And then the eBay prices started to hit. That's when we were seeing things like $600, $700, $800, $1,000 for the Slysz Bowie. it's not worth that much. Is it a $350-ish knife? Well, yeah. Now this new one, that's my opinion anyway, is that it was worth the money. These are manufactured in Taichung, Taiwan. If you guys don't know, Taichung, Taiwan, in my opinion, actually manufactures the best Spydercos. Those have the best fit and finish. I love my US Spydercos, and they have great fit and finish. But if I'm being honest, the Taichung, Taiwan variants of Spydercos, they do the best ones. They're also traditionally the most expensive Spydercos, right? This new one here, Blue Anno. All right, was weird, but some people really like Blue Anno. It's kind of a flat blue, and it's definitely going to turn to a sort of purpley gray as your fingers get oil on it. Whatever, right? It's blue. I wish that it was tumbled like the original, but it's not. The new one also has a satin finish blade instead of the beautiful finish that we get on knives like the Slysz Bowie, the whatever that swayback one was, and the Paysan. Beautiful finish. Now that was applied to CTS XHP. It's my understanding that applying that same finish to M390 would be much more difficult, which is maybe why they decided to do this. Honestly, I would have just taken it in CTS XHP with the same finish. I don't want M390 that bad, and CTS XHP is a wonderful steel that, in my opinion, we don't see enough of here in 2021. The spine is still crowned. I was under the impression that the spine was not crowned. Even these edges right here where it's flat are nice and knocked down. The inside of the hole is a little bit sharper than what I remember the original. Right? All the way around the knife, it's mostly the blade just feels a little bit more angular than the original, and it feels a little bit less polished. Now, people freaked out because the price tag on this guy was $400, right? However many years later. Instead of $350 or $335, whatever it was originally, it was $400. That's not the part that bothers me. In fact, I'm not really going to get into much of that drama. The simple part of it for me is if you liked it, if you liked how it looks and you really like the Slysz Bowie, right, and you feel okay about that price, then go ahead and buy it. And obviously people did because they sold out almost immediately. If you don't like it, and especially if you were never a fan of the Slysz Bowie in the first place, then you just don't buy it. The deal was substantially better than what we were limited to before this knife came out, which was eBay or the secondary market where people were getting away with charging $600, $700, $800 for these things, right? I don't really care about the price. The price is, it's a little bit up there, right? It's higher than what I would have originally felt like what I wanted to pay, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I have to halt everything that I'm doing to just process this atrocity. You know, no part of my brain did that. I was like, all right. The truth is that if they had released this in its original form and wanted $400 for it, I probably would have bought one. I wouldn't be going around telling people that I got the most amazing deal in the entire world, but personally, I would have bought one, right? That's the simple of it here is that this is not a variant that I wanted to buy because it was blue and because it's a satin finished M390 blade, right? Whatever the blades, I mean, there's a bunch of different blade styles they could do this in that I would have gone for, but you know, they just went for M390 because that's the flavor. It's been the flavor for a long time. Everything else, as far as I can tell, is exactly the same. The pivot, I'm guessing, is a T8. Let me really don't want to mark anything up, so I'm going to be very careful inserting that. Yeah, that's a T8. The body screws back here are T6. That's fine. There's 6 of them instead of 4 like I prefer, but okay. That screw that's holding in the what would be the pocket clip on this side is a T8 also. There's no lock bar insert, which I honestly don't care about. Disengagement is fine on this, and these will probably continue to last forever. The lock bar insert does slow down wear over time, and it would have been nice to have the over travel stop, but we don't have that. I think that would have been cool if they had added it, but not because I'm like, oh my gosh, the lock face geometry is going to be bad because titanium on steel. No, I just would have liked the over travel stop just in case I pushed it a little bit too far, but no big deal, right? Pocket clip's still the same. So is this the best Spyderco that's ever been made? I mean, is it still holding that title? I don't know. I mean, this is definitely up there. Like, if I were to name my top 10 favorite Spydercos of all time, yeah, the Slysz Bowie is definitely up there. This is a wonderful knife. It's going to be worth $400 to some people because, listen, again, there's going to be more of these. This is factually, no matter how much people kick and scream and complain, factually what's going to happen And believe me, like everybody know, like no matter what, like people watching this video, hearing me say that will take time out of their day the next time that these drop to go and complain about how bad it is that the price increased, right? It's just going to be the case. But what's also going to be the case is that Knife Joy is going to come out with more of these and they're going to sell out again, right? I hope that they keep doing that. That way the people who want to get their hands on them, the people who really want them, not to flip them, because that sucks, right? Don't do that. And for those of you who would never do that, don't entertain the people doing, flipping them on eBay by buying them. Just don't do that, because Knife Joy is going to make more. That's the best outcome here, is that people on the secondary market will no longer be able to buy up a bunch of these and then make money off of them. If Knife Joy and potentially other retailers, that would be great. I don't know what type of exclusivity Knife Joy has, but other retailers maybe, being able to create different variants of this. They're going to come out again. They're probably still going to be $400, and they're definitely still going to sell out. And I don't really have a problem with that. As soon as if a variant of this ever comes out that is more to my liking, especially if they do that original finish, I will absolutely buy one of these. This is definitely one of my favorite knives of all time, and I'm so glad that I actually took the time to experience it the first time. You can still go back and watch my original review, which is from like a year and a half ago, I think. And I was just blown away by it. It was more compact than I thought that it was going to be, and it was so much more polished than I thought it was going to be. And this version, despite the fact that it doesn't have a finish that I like, and it doesn't on the blade, and it doesn't have the original finish on the scales that I like, it still feels exactly the same as the one that I handled. This is one way or another. I mean, whether you're for spending, like you're like, yeah, I do. I'm the type of person who spends $400 on a knife, or you're not the type of person who spends that much money on a knife. This is an excellent knife. I mean, if you're a collector enthusiast, which part of me definitely is, then yeah, this is a great one to add to your collection. It's definitely a permanent part of knife history. It's not going to be stamped out. The Slysz Bowie will never be stamped out. It's far too powerful. But if you actually plan to go out and use it, I mean, yeah, this is definitely one of the, I mean, it's definitely one of the knives that I would consider most preferable amidst, like if I were to take everything that I've experienced and reduce it to a top 50, not just Spyderco, but everything, the Slysz Bowie would be in there. And this is just an excellent knife. It's so easy to operate. It feels so comfortable, feels so natural. Some of the edges are a little bit angular. I think it would have been nice if they had done a little bit more chamfering in here, if they just sort of like moderned it up a little bit versus the original, right? A lot of people would argue against me and say, no, I want it in the original form, even if that form is considered flawed by, 30% of the knife community or whatever. Whatever. It's fantastic the way that it is. There's no blade play. They didn't skip out on quality overall. They just changed up the blade finish, and they changed up the steel, and they changed up the handle finish. I don't know that this really needs to go on. Do I think it's a good idea to buy the Slysz Bowie in the future? This is an excellent knife. Like, it is an excellent design. It's an excellent knife. It's just a little bit high, right? It's not like astronomical, like this knife should only be $150. Anybody who says something like that is just not correct. I think it's a little high. I would have loved to see it at $350, right? $400, I'm like, well, I'm going to go ahead and consciously overpay a little bit for this thing, right? But it is not crazy. We've seen so many other examples in the knife world of knives that are actually way overpriced, right? There's one right now on Blade HQ that people have been talking about that's like, yikes. But yeah, for those of you who have always loved the Slysz Bowie, right? You've been fascinated by it. Maybe you owned the original and you're just missing it, and you're like, well, I'm not going to go after it now because the eBay prices are so high, right? And you actually want to own this knife again just to enjoy it. Yeah, I think you're really going to like this. For those of you who have never handled one and you're wondering, should I pick one up? I don't plan to flip it. I just either want to EDC it or just add it to my collection. You will also really like this knife, but you'll be, in my opinion, you just kind of have to be okay with consciously overpaying a little bit for it. Just a little bit. $50. If you're looking at $350 knives, you're probably not shying away from $400 knives anyway, right? So that's just my opinion. I have no idea what this knife costs to make, but yeah, as far as the drama surrounding it, I mean, I'm trying to dump ice water on it. I gain nothing from saying nice things about this. I don't get to keep the knife. I'm not being paid by Knife Joy. I don't even think they know that I exist. In fact, if you look down in my description, there aren't any links for them down there. So I literally benefit nothing. I'm just trying to dump ice on this because I thought the whole thing was kind of ridiculous. It's a really good knife that's got a price tag that's kind of, it's a little high, right? Sure hope they bring back the original setup, especially that finish on the blade. Oh my gosh, that original finish on the blade was just beautiful. Seth, thank you for sending this in. I'm glad that I got an opportunity to talk about it. This is definitely one that I wanted to do a video on, and he allowed me to do that. So this doesn't need to be any longer than it is. I hope you guys got the information you were looking for. I hope I didn't come off as preachy or arrogant or anything like that. I want people to have, I want to give my opinion, but I want people to have the actual information on the knife, right? And the goal here is to help people make the decision that's best for them, whether it be not buy the knife or buy the knife, right? That's your decision to make. I just want to provide my opinion and the factual information about this knife. So anyways, guys, please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.